I know what you're thinking. Is this the booth, drafting the circuits, three-way theater, or the Kevin Jackson show? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kinda lost track myself here on whobazoo.com. So, do you feel lucky, punk?
Oscar Mike Radio. Come in, Oscar Mike Radio.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land or sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Oscar Mike Radio, do you copy?
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night ashore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Oscar Mike Radio is en route.
We're always ready for the call, we place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto, too so true. We're always ready to or die. I, Coast Guard, we fight for you. First to fight, and the army goes rolling along. And the army goes rolling along. Hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off your cannons loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Come in, Oscar Mike Radio.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, soon to meet our thunder. And boys, give it a gun, down we die, spouting our flame from under. On one terrible roar, we live in fame. We're down in flame, oh, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. On guard at every station, protectors of our nation, the great armed forces of America, America today. Hooray!
Good evening. Today is August 4th, 2016. Broadcasting from the City of Champions, Brockton, Massachusetts, this is Oscar Mike Radio. On mission, on the move, always. So, we have a full fight card ahead of us, so we're going to get right into it. And we're going to talk about the question of the day. And the question of the day comes from Anthony J. from Shreveport, Louisiana. That's right. We have listeners all across the nation already. Thank you so much for your support and enthusiasm for the show. And his question is, why are your podcasts 30 minutes long? And quite simply, what I'm trying to do is, because I'm new at this, I've only done 2 of these, this is the 3rd one, is I'm trying to put together a product that is entertaining, educational, and, inspiring. And, even though I don't know what I'm doing completely, I'm learning as I go along. And so I'd rather have 30 minutes of something that you want to really listen to and enjoy than drone on for an hour trying to talk to fill up space. And also, Anthony, the feedback I've gotten back from other listeners is, you know what, 30 minutes is enough time for me to listen to your podcast on the way to work, treat it like a radio show during lunch, or even take it on a jog. So for right now, we're sticking with 30 minutes. If that changes and we want to do something else, we'll certainly consider doing that. And that is the question of the week. Keep them coming, and thanks for listening. Today's main topic is about the VA luxury art scandal that was broken by OpenTheBooks.com, an agency that's set up to look at government expenditures and crunch the data and try to find waste. I had the pleasure of speaking with Adam Andrzejewski today about this, and the reason is, I said to him, I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out. Forget the Christmas tree thing. We'll get to that in a second. But it seems like, where there's smoke, there's fire. And he's like, yes. What you're seeing here in our report that's on openthedoors.com. I also have a link to it in the blog, oscarmikesite.wordpress.com. He's like, you're seeing a systemic mindset that says if we have money, we're going to spend it however, whenever, and wherever we want. And, hey, it's just too bad if you don't like it. And this really bothers me because, I'm trying to find positive stories about the VA. They serve between 7 and 8 million veterans annually. That's a lot of people. I don't care, what kind of corporation you are, to sit down with somebody and, take care of that many people makes them the largest single healthcare provider in the United States. Their annual budget for fiscal year 2017, they requested $180 billion. So, to say that they are small is an understatement. They are a large entity of the government. And, by nature of what they do, you want to hold them accountable. And you think that for as many people as they serve, there'd be some real heartwarming, warm stories of personal triumph and I was hurt, I was injured, and I got taken care of. I got the help I needed. But so many times we hear that, that veteran wasn't taken care of. They weren't helped. They couldn't be seen by a doctor. There was no money. There was no staffing. There was no this. There was no that. And then the report drops, and I'm looking at it, and I encourage you to go to opendoors.com and check out the report and the charts they put together. They do some great work. And, the first thing that jumps out at me was the Christmas tree. Now, I couldn't believe that any company would spend $21,000 and change on a fake Christmas tree. That's right, a fake Christmas tree. In fact, let's try a little experiment. I want you to, in a second, to pause the SoundCloud app on your phone or on the computer and go tell your significant other that, hey, for Christmas, I found this tree that cost $2,100. Now, we're going to have to, give Thanksgiving a little short shrift this year, but Christmas is going to be awesome. This tree is, the bomb, as my kids would say. And see, how your spouse, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband reacts to that. It'll probably be like how I reacted to it when I looked at the report with absolute disgust and incredulity. I'm like, this is nuts. This is crazy. And I got very, very upset. I mean, there are people that need help from the VA who can't get it. They absolutely cannot get the help they need. And then, after talking to, the CEO, Adam Andrzejewski, I really got an appreciation for, what's happening here. Before I did that, I started to say to myself, you know what? You're an analyst. Let's take the emotion out of this. Let's look at some numbers. Let's see, what I can find out from the data that's there and see if I can get any clarity about what's going on. And here's the very sad reality I had to face when I started doing this. I've been on this earth for a little while, and I really got a wake-up call that I really don't know a lot about how life works. every time I think I do, I run something like this, and it demonstrates that I really don't know a lot about my, larger world. And for the sake of this podcast and the time length I have, I won't go into all the, what I did to get the information that I got, but basically I took the report from opendoors.com, started messing around with the numbers, and what I wanted to see was, just for, my first dive into this is, okay, this is a 10-year period, an average of $2 million a year. How does that really stack up? And the VA budget between 2004 and 2014, I think 2004 was $138 billion, and by 2014 it was 158. So is an average of $2 million a huge spend? Not really. In total budget dollars, it's not a huge spend. It's not. But then I'm like, well, let's pivot then on the vendors that were awarded these contracts from the government, and let's see what we find. And two vendors jumped out at me for two very different reasons. I'll go with the first one. There was a vendor that's called the Federal Prison System. They also do business as Unicor. And they were awarded between, I think, 2005 and 2012 or 13, a total of $162,000 in work for artwork for the VA. And my problem there is, I'm like, okay, so we're giving prisoners jobs at a time when veterans are coming back from Afghanistan and trying to reintegrate into society and get work. The prisoners are being allowed to create artwork at a very competitive price for the VA. But the VA is not pursuing any kind of veteran artist. And there are hundreds of veteran artist organizations throughout this country that create art based on their military experience. And it looks like that very few or none of these companies were run or, staffed by veterans. And so I'm like, it's kind of upsetting that prisoners get to make art for the VA and were pursued, but veterans were not. So I really didn't like that. I really found that, quite disgusting when you think about, who gets to do what for our soldiers and veterans. I didn't see where, prisoners were a viable alternative when there's so many other guys out there, and women too. The second one, and this really is fascinating when you start digging into this rabbit hole, there's a company on the report called Art MOXM. And between 2004 and 2014, Art Moxum, we'll just call him Moxum for, sanity's sake, took in almost $3.7 million during that time frame. And I was curious. I'm like, how does one company get that much work over that much time for another company? They're started to, in my mind, I started to have all kinds of questions about this from an analytical standpoint. So I started digging, and some of these links are in the blog. I started looking up what Art MOXM is. And it is a company in California in the Palo Alto area. It's a one-person company run by a woman that supplies artwork. Now, not artwork in the strictest sense of the word. I'm finding out that artwork in the VA sense is a very fluid, subjective term. This company does things like furnishings, window treatments, floor treatments, things like this. And it's literally a one-woman operation. So I'm like, okay, is she creating this stuff and selling it to the VA? How's this work? Obviously, she has some kind of sourcing place that makes this stuff for her, and she in turn sells it to the VA, based on their requirements, and pockets the cash. And let's just say she is outsourcing it. What's her profit margin on this? And let's just say the average business takes in, 60, 70 cents on the dollar. Let's just say for this podcast right here, her break-even point was half. So a minimum conservative estimate is she took in $1.5 million, $1.4 million over a 10 year period in profit. A one-person company. And the thing is, I'd like to say that I had to dig and like an archaeologist, look through all the ground and dig this stuff up and sift the dirt. But I have to tell you honestly, it wasn't like that. With no more effort than I would spend looking at, my fantasy football lineup, I was able to find this information out. A lot of it there is on government service websites that will tell you exactly, who's doing what contracts they've got awarded, what GASA level is categorized for their expenditure. And it did not take me long. And I just came into this thing like a week and a half ago to start looking at it. And I'm thinking to myself, if I can spend the time looking at, fantasy football or other things or, a new part for my motorcycle, shouldn't I be able to focus the same kind of effort and understand how the money's being spent? Because here's the brutal truth, and there's two brutal truths that I take away from this, is number one, if you are not an active duty service member or a veteran, but you're a straight civilian, never served in the military, not going to serve in the military, you are paying for this. Your tax money is being allocated by the federal government and approved by Congress in a budget, and they're using your money to pay for this stuff. If you are an active duty service member, you're paying for it. If you are a veteran and you got hurt in the line of duty, or you qualified somehow for VA care, these people in this government entity work for you. It is not the other way around. You are coming into their establishment and they are supposed to take care of you. And when you follow the money like this, like openthebooks.com has, and then you can see what is going on, you can only come to one conclusion. This is just smoke here. This story about $20 million and all the expenditures is just smoke. There is fire. There is fire. There is other parts of the VA where expenditures are not being properly, categorized, oversight, the whole 9 yards. And it really raises other questions in terms of, wait a minute, if we have money to pay one vendor $3.7 million for furnishings and artwork, what was cut off the list to make that happen? What about, drugs that veterans needed? What about an MRI machine, doctors, call staff, support staff, other things that are necessary for veterans to get the care that they need? So as much as I want to tell a good story about the VA and what they're doing and be able to really shine light on good things that they do, I keep coming back to this, realization that one, hey, I really don't know what's going on. That's one of the reasons that I'm doing this show, is to learn more about the world around me when it comes to military matters. If I hadn't been doing this show, I wouldn't have learned anything about this. I just kept going about my way. And two, I'm really going to encourage you to, go to this site, check it out, and decide for yourself. Look, you're checking your stock price, you're checking your fantasy football, you're checking your eBay account. See if you can check out, some VA work. See how your money's being spent. And remember, it's your money. It is your money. I hope to have the CEO, Adam Andrzejewski, on the show. We're talking about that, and hopefully he comes on. I would love to talk to him further about this. But that's what I want to leave you for the week is, it's not just about, $20 million over a 10-year period. It's about a wider issue of your money not being used to take care of veterans, and the people that are spending the money want you to be dumb about what they're doing. And that is my main topic for the week. So we're going to move right into the rant of the week. And the rant of the week is brought to you by the Pogue and Grunt Complaint Department. And they're not happy if they're not complaining. And their rant of the week is about Motrin. And for all of us active duty guys or veterans who've been in the military, I don't care what you have. Your pinky could be hurt. You could have blood pouring out of your leg from a, wound, scratch, or whatever. You could be feeling blue from, the night's festivities. It doesn't really matter what it is. You go to the doctor, the corpsman, the Navy medic, the nurse, the Air Force doctor, and the first thing they're going to do is prescribe you, 800 to 1,000 milligrams of Motrin, at least a quarter water an hour, and go on your way. And I've often wondered, and they brought it up, they're like, why is that? And I looked around just trying to figure out, what the reason is for this. Is it some kind of government contract, kickback? I don't know. What makes Motrin better than Tylenol or Advil? I also don't know. But for some reason, and even when I was in, many moons ago, the first line of defense for your pain and suffering wasn't actually a cure. It was Motrin. And the ironic thing is, and people will tell you, at least when I was in, if you went down to the PX or the CVS, say if you were out in town, and bought Motrin and brought it back to your room and put it in your cabinet, and your first sergeant or staff sergeant or, gunnery sergeant first class came in your room for inspection, and they saw that bottle of Motrin there, you're trying to take care of yourself, right? They would be like, wait a minute, who authorized you to have this Motrin? And you'd say, well, I wasn't feeling well, Staff Sergeant. I needed this Motrin so I could feel better. And they're like, well, you can't have Motrin. The doctor didn't give you Motrin. What do you do with Motrin? And you would either have to push, get written up, or fill sandbags the next day. And that's just the way it was. But still, I've asked a couple of corpsmen, I've asked a couple of people who, I serve with, what's the big deal? And it's a mystery. As of right now, I can't tell you why Motrin is the go-to pain reliever of choice for the military. All I can tell you that it still is, and probably will be for a long time. And that is the rant of the week. So, I've been doing this unit shout-out thing where I'm trying to acknowledge units that, support frontline combat troops, support the fighter jocks, support, all the, sexy quote, close quote, jobs out there, and really, bring to light what these professionals do every day, because no one operates in a vacuum in the military. I don't care what kind of branch you're in. You're out there on the front line. Somebody made sure that you had the ammunition, the food, the clothes on your back to go out there and do your job. This week, I'm going to go a little bit, off course in a different direction because, as a Marine, I think this story should get some attention. And I'm talking about 8-year-old Wyatt Gillette, who was born with Akari-Gutierrez syndrome, a rare genetic disorder. And, I looked it up before I did the podcast, and it's pretty, I don't know how to describe it personally. I'm not a medical professional, but I can tell you that as a father with 3 healthy kids, I can't imagine the hardship that his father, Jeremiah, and mother Felicia experienced, being parents to this little boy. And I tip my hat to him because, as a parent, I can't imagine how hard that is. But, about a week ago, the Commandant of the Marine Corps authorized that little Wyatt be made an honorary Marine. And in a ceremony in Camp Pendleton, his father, who's a drill instructor at MCRD San Diego, URA, that's where the real Marines come from, he was made an honorary Marine. And it's just one of those things where, you know, the brass got it right. The senior staff NCOs got it right. And it was done in a timely manner to celebrate this child's life and how much he meant to his mother and father and how much the Marine Corps meant to them as a wider family. And I've never met his mother and father, but, you know, I as Oscar Mike Radio would like to dedicate this unit shout out to Wyatt Gillette and his mother and father, Jeremiah and Felicia. And you know, any comfort that I can provide for them, I will, because he passed away the day after he was made honorary. So we are 3 episodes in. I am having a lot of fun doing this. I am learning a lot doing this radio show. In 2 weeks, if everything works out, I will have the first guest on Oscar Mike Radio, and working toward that. You'll hear more about it on Facebook for us old folks and other sources for the younger crowd. And you know, I appreciate. I'm so pleased, you know, and humbled by the response I've gotten with Oscar Mike from people who've listened to it, especially people who haven't served in the military. You know, this is one of the reasons why I want to do this, is so those people can get an idea of things that are important to us. And again, a big shout out to Sinister One Productions and Keith Hayes with Woobazoo.com for really kind of guiding me along the way in doing this and believing what I do. So I want to end the podcast on that note. I can't wait for next week to get here. I'm going to talk about some stuff more, you know, closer to the greater Boston area. And, you know, have a good weekend. Stay safe, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.
Oscar Mike Radio, over and out.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land or sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Oscar Mike Radio, do you copy?
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, bring to the home until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Oscar Mike Radio is en route.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semperatus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too, so true. We're always ready to or die. I, Coast Guard, we fight for you. First to fight and the army goes rolling along. Proud along, and the army goes rolling along. It's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off your cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Come in, Oscar Mike Radio.